Hello and welcome to Sports Today. My name is Rohit Mundiur and I am going to be speaking about yesterday's Euro round of 16 matches. Uh, it truly kicked off yesterday. It was a bit of a record breaking night. If you haven't watched the matches, well, you missed two of the most exciting football matches you will ever see, most probably, especially in the international, especially in big tournaments like these. Teams tend to come under pressure and they tend to try and play safe. Not yesterday. Yesterday, it was all about trying to outscore their opponent for all four teams involved. A total of 14 goals were scored between the four teams. And at the end of it all, it is Spain and Switzerland who go through. That's right. Well, a bit of a stunner happened in the second match. Let's just go step by step, though. First and foremost, it was Spain versus Croatia. It was a bit of a Croatia were actually, you could just see the difference between the two sides age-wise. Croatia were the older team. They were the more experienced team, but at the same time, they had older legs. So they were trying to slow the game down as much as possible. But then Spain had the initiative and they ended up winning the match 5-3. But that does not, 5-3, of course, is an extraordinary scoreline, 8-goal thriller. It did not look like Spain would have to score 5 goals again. This is the second time in the tournament, second time on the trot that they have scored 5 goals. But then, of course, the last time they did not concede 3 goals as well when they won 5-0 against Slovakia. It all started off in a quite a bizarre fashion, actually. In the 20th minute, Spain had almost complete possession of the ball, probably about 80% possession or something in the first 20 minutes. But then it was Croatia who had the goal. And it was simply because of the fact that Pedro Gonzalez basically passed it back to his own goalkeeper, Unai Simon, the Athletic Bilbao goalkeeper, who's Spain's number one right now. And instead of Simon actually just taking the ball in his stride and kicking it forward or doing whatever he wants with it, he actually ended up missing the goal altogether, missing the ball altogether, and the ball just rolled into goal for one of the most comedic own goals you would ever see. And thus, Croatia actually took the lead without really doing too much in an attacking sense. But then, credit to Spain, they actually kept themselves together. They kept the dominating position. They actually went into halftime trailing 1-0 because of that own goal. But then, there we go. In the second half, it was, that was a mistake, sorry. Pablo Sarabia actually managed to make it 1-1 in the 38th minute, and they actually went to halftime level on 1-1. In the second half, Spain finally took the lead. They had all the possession. They were doing all the attacking, and they finally took the lead through Cesar Azpilicueta, the Chelsea fullback. He actually scored his first ever goal for Spain. And what a place to score that goal. And he helped made it 2-1 across from the left. And Azpilicueta was actually there in the middle of the box to head the ball in. It's probably not the place you would expect a fullback to be in, but then he was there and he headed it in. He did the job for his team. And then after that, it was just Spain all the way. Ferran Torres actually scored from a break. Actually, it was the referee had called for a break in play, and then the free kick was taken quickly. It didn't look like all the Croatian players were ready for the kick, actually, but then the referee gave the goal. The Croatians did not really go against that. The Croatians did not really um, uh, protest against that goal. Ferran Torres actually got the ball from a long pass and then tucked the ball in to make it 3-1. Croatia were completely, it looked like they were flat after that. It didn't look like they would be able to really come back. It just didn't make sense from a footballing perspective that this is a team who are going to come back. But then, yesterday's night was not much about sense, really. All of a sudden, in the 85th minute, both the teams made as many as all 5 their substitutions. So towards the end of that match, both the teams were playing with a very different formation from the ones that they started out in. Their 11s were quite different, and Miroslav Orsic went ahead and scored in the 85th minute to actually give Croatia some hope. And after that, Spain tried to hold on, they tried to hang on, but then they could not stop it. It was Mario Pasalic who scored in the first minute of injury time to make it 3-3 extraordinarily. and then push the game into extra time. Uh, in the extra time, though, Croatia could not really do what they did in the last 5 minutes of regulation time. They actually did start the half very well. Unai Simon, the goalkeeper, who actually conceded the own goal in such bizarre fashion, actually kept Spain in the game with an extraordinary save early on in extra time. And then after that, Spain just took control of the game. Alvaro Morata scored in the 100th minute of the match, uh, a spectacular volley that just smashed into the roof of the net, and hopefully smashes the words of all those people who are criticizing him and doing nonsense like going after his family with their criticism and stuff like that, not letting him sleep. I mean, it's all utter idiocy from people who like to call themselves fans, abusing their own player. He just smashed the ball into the roof of the net. It seemed like an angry goal almost. Why not? And then Oyarzabal went and scored in the 103rd minute. And then after that, tired legs took over. Both teams were hardly able to run at all. Guys like Brozovic, Modric, older players who played the entire match in the heat over there. So they just could not run at all towards the end. And the match finally ended 5-3. 8 goals scored in that match. It is actually the second highest scoring match of all time in the history of the Euros, with the highest scoring match being a match between France and Yugoslavia, which Yugoslavia won 5-4. It was incidentally the first ever match of the Euros, of the European Championships. It was called the European Nations Cup back then, back in 1960. It was the first ever Euro tournament and the first ever match which Yugoslavia had won 5-4. If there was one more goal in this match would have equaled the record for the highest scoring Euro match of all time. So that felt like, this might be it. That felt like, it might be the greatest match of this tournament. But then came France versus Switzerland, which just upended everything. France started off with a 3-man defensive line. They actually had Clement Longley as the third centre back, the Barcelona centre back, but then it just did not work for them in the first half. Switzerland actually were the much better team, and they actually went ahead and scored in the 15th minute. Haris Seferovic put them ahead, and they had a 1-0 lead, and France looked like they are not going to do anything in this match throughout that first half. Switzerland completely dominated the possession. France did well to actually keep it down to 1-0, and they went into half-time trailing by a goal. In the second half, Didier Deschamps decided to take off one of those 3 centre-backs. He took off Clement Longley and brought on Kingsley Coman, the Bayern Munich winger. And France were an entirely different team after that. They conceded a penalty early on, but then Switzerland could not convert that. Hugo Lloris saved that. And then after that, in about 3 minutes, they went from actually conceding the penalty to going 2-1 up. Karim Benzema scoring both the goals. And then after that, France were just dominant. I have always said that I've not yet seen a team dominating in this edition of the European Championships. But then France were doing exactly that. They have world-class players up ahead. Paul Pogba, Antoine Griezmann, Karim Benzema, Kingsley Coman, Kylian Mbappe, and they were all doing, except for Mbappe really, they were all doing exactly what it is that they do all the time. They were doing exactly what it is that they are all individually known for, really, with the skills and the passing, and they were just tearing the Switzerland defense apart. It was an imperious performance, really. And then Pogba capped it all off with a typical long-range curler that he hit from probably about 30 or 35 yards out. And it looked like Switzerland are completely out. You don't really come back from being dominated like that by a team. But credit to the Switzerland defense, especially the Switzerland, Nico Elvedi of Borussia Mönchengladbach. He was probably tasked with dealing with Kylian Mbappe more than anyone else. Mbappe has not really had a great tournament this season. He's not scored a single goal, and Elvedi actually stayed with him all the time. There were a number of times during that period when France were dominating that Pogba actually released a lovely ball to Mbappe, and Elvedi stayed with him all the time and ensured that the PSG striker did not go ahead and score and sort of kick off his form, which would have been terrible for Switzerland. But then they came back somehow. Switzerland just did not lie down. They actually came all the way back into the game. They scored. Haris Seferovic scored his second goal of the night in the 81st minute. And then all of a sudden, France's domination was just gone. They could not get those strings of passes together. And in the end, it was Mario Gavranovic who scored in the 90th minute, made it 3-3, and another match went into extra time. This time, though, there were no goals from either side in extra time, unlike the Spain game, and it had to actually go to the penalties. All the players converted their penalties except for Kylian Mbappe. His penalty was saved by Jan Sommer, and that sealed France's fate. The world champions, who were, well, they looked like they were playing their best football of the tournament in that period when they were dominating in this match, and they ended up getting knocked out at the end of that same match. It is the first time since the 2010 World Cup that France have not gone past the round of 16 of a major tournament. It is also the first time that Switzerland have made it to the tournament since the 1954 World Cup. So a lot of firsts happening. In fact, it's a record-breaking night, really. I mean, there have been a whole lot of bizarre styles that have come out. There's only been 3 times in the knockout stage of the Euros that a team have come back from being multiple goals down after the 80th minute. 2 of those times happened yesterday night. So that's one. This is the first time Switzerland have scored 3 goals against France since 1960, since they won a friendly in 1960 against France 6-2. These are just some of the real standout styles. There are a number of other small bizarre styles that have just come out of yesterday. I really don't have time to put all of them together in this video. We've already gone on for a long time. Let's just look forward now. I just hope that it's quite ridiculous to expect any matches to sort of match up to what happened yesterday. I just hope that we'll get to see something even half as good as what we got to see yesterday. Well, first of all, in the final round of 16 matches, today we'll see England taking on Germany. That's a huge match, of course. Big rivalry between the two football teams, big rivalry between the two countries historically. That will happen at 9:30 p.m. IST. And then, of course, later in the night, we'll see Sweden taking on Ukraine at 12:30 a.m. What's happening next for these two teams who have survived this goal fest, Switzerland and Spain? Well, they face each other on Friday at 9:30 p.m. Spain would have been thinking that this is... all the experts thought that it's going to be France versus Spain in the quarterfinals. But no, Switzerland just would not take that lying down. They actually managed to knock the world champions off. So that's it from a record-breaking night in the Euros. Do tell us what you feel about those matches in the comment section. And as usual, if you do like this video, click the like button, share it, and subscribe to Sports Today. Thanks.